Welcome folks, this is a guide on how to create your party in Eye of the Beholder 1 without too many mistakes. Let's go ahead and create a party. We have 4 slots and we can expand that by 2 by adding NPCs when we find their bones. But given the game is very old, you probably know that already. So what is the best party composition? There are different ways you can go about this game. Uh, it's pretty free form. You don't really need anything to beat the game. It's pretty easy. In fact, you can even speed run it if you want it, and that really tells you that the game is not really difficult. But we need 2 front row fighters and 2 backline casters. Now, in second edition, the thief was really a shitty class, which was best used as a multi-class. Let's say you play a half-elf. Half-elf are shunned by society in most settings, so you could make, let's say, a fighter thief, or maybe something else with a thief in it. Maybe a dwarven fighter thief. But for the front line, we want a pure class. What this means is, due to the nature of multi-classing, if you gain, let's say, 12 HP in a level and you have 3 classes, you're gonna gain 4 HP because you're gonna divide what you gain by the number of classes you have. So this will make you end up with lower HPs the more classes you have. That means as a frontline fighter, we need someone who can take a punishment. Now we can create a dwarf, and we're gonna go ahead and create a fighter. Doesn't matter the alignment, it doesn't really matter. We can modify this. We can modify this and take it to 18. But the thing about the dwarf is this. You can give 18 wisdom to the dwarf, is okay, but you're gonna get 17 dexterity and 19 constitution. That means he's gonna have a grand total of 45 HP at level 3, if you modify, obviously. Now that means that the extra HPs he's gonna get is theoretically going to offset your dexterity. You are also gonna get poison resistance and probably magic resistance, if I'm not mistaken. So we can go ahead and keep this character. We don't really need it. And now the difference. We're gonna make a human, another fighter, and this is the difference. Now we're gonna, oh, sorry, my bad. You're gonna be going away. Thank you very much. Let's create, in fact, let's create, yeah, another fighter. This is fine. Modify. We want to give him like 18 dexterity and 18 constitution. You can see the difference. Now the difference is 3 hit points, because the 1 point in constitution is gonna give you 1 more hit point. So by level 8 you will have 5 more hit points than a human, a non-dwarf race. Whether this is worth the 1 armor class, this is up to you guys. I will not debate it. I would say for the best party, we're gonna keep this fighter and we're gonna delete this dwarf male fighters, because I don't think the hit point increase of 5 hit points is gonna make or break your class. What you get is a resistance to poison, which is really relegated to 1 level, and generally speaking in the other games it's generally 1 small section, and by that time you have neutralized poison, which shouldn't be a problem. And besides, it's just a dice roll, so we need another human. We can go with halflings, gnomes, half-elves and elves, but not really optimal. You can probably take an half-elf and be fighter, but the problem is that you cannot get to the 3rd installment and max out the class. So because of racial level limits. So we're gonna go with humans. We can choose between a fighter, a ranger, a paladin. Now rangers are completely utterly useless, not in this game, but because their special ability is to be able to cast spells. That means at level 9 you will be able to cast some basic level spells. They may or may not be good, but their second ability is to be able to fight with 2 weapons without penalties when wearing light armor, which means leather armor, up to studded leather. But there is no studded leather in the Eye of the Beholder series, so it's really up to leather armor. This will obviously prevent the use of plate. You can go with plate, but then again you would be just a fighter. So the paladin next is basically the same as a ranger, but he can cast clerical spells at level 9, I think, or 8 or 9, probably 9th level. You can cast Bless and Cure Light Wounds. Nothing really crazy. I wouldn't trade the increase in experience needed for this couple of spells. He also gets access to Turn Undead, but not as powerful as a cleric. And he also gets access to Protection from Evil 10 feet as a party buff. Now, whether this in this game stacks with the spell, I do not know, but according to the rules, it shouldn't stack. So you can see having a paladin really is not going to give you any benefit if not for role-playing reasons. So we're going to go with another fighter. Doesn't really matter the alignment. Again, what you want to achieve here is you wanna roll for strength, dexterity, and constitution. Or you can modify them and put them to the maximum for an easy game. The other stats are good for resisting spells. For instance, wisdom is good for resisting spell. Intelligence, you can dump it, and charisma is good for nothing, obviously. And this is 42 HPs. So we can keep this guy and call it B. Now, for the backline, this is where an optimized party will shape up. Now, we can have an half elf, and we can tell them to become a cleric mage. Because this is a backliner, we don't really care that much about HP, but also we do not want to neglect them. So if we were to go for a pure mage, we wouldn't have enough HP to survive too much damage, if you know what I'm talking about. By adding a cleric, at the very least, we're gonna end up with less HP than a cleric, but we have a dual utility. Well, first of all, a mage gets a 1d4 as a hit dice. A cleric gets a 1d what? 8 or 6? I don't remember. But let's say I want to make a cleric mage. We're gonna say whatever alignment, doesn't really matter. Obviously we need intelligence and dexterity, and wisdom. We obviously want constitution. Strength is useless, and dexterity if you want. Now with this we can increase our HP to become 16. We're gonna keep this one and call it C. With this we are able to keep the cleric symbol in one hand and the spellbook in the other, so we can cast both spells, arcane and clerical, divine. Let's say I want to make a mage, a pure mage. We can modify the constitution here and give intelligence. We can reach 18 HP, so a pure mage has more HP than obviously a multiclass. But is it gonna be 2 hit points? Are it gonna be more than the ability to cast clerical spells? I don't think it is a good idea. Now, you don't get me wrong, you can go with a typical fighter thief cleric mage. Sure, you do you. But another half elf, another cleric mage is gonna be what you want. So we're gonna be modifying this one. Give wisdom, intelligence, and dexterity, and constitution. Well, let's give everything to 18. But technically all you need 2 stats here. There you go. We can keep this one and name it D, and we can play this game. Now when you enter, you will notice that because of our selection of classes, we can already dual wield weapons. So by just doing this, we can attack 4 times with good weapons and good damage. We can memorize spells, and we can also pray for spells. A Bless and Cure Light Wounds is gonna go a long way, and the same is gonna go for the other cleric. So a Bless and Light Wounds. So you now rest. Sure, you're gonna enjoy a slower progression for the cleric mage, but the ability to eventually have double the healing, double the buffs, and double the remove paralysis, neutralize poisons, hold persons, and all the yada yada that brings a cleric to the party is gonna offset that slower pace of leveling. Besides, in the first game you can grind some experience in the Kenku level, but just working back and forth you're gonna spawn them. And of course we're gonna be opening this one. What you want to do for Eye of the Beholder 1 is pick up the lockpicks and these particular bones. These are halfling bones. Now if you want to spare some keys, obviously I did not roll for good strength, but it is what it is. You want to bring these bones, the cleric in the dwarf um, outpost, and you want to resurrect this guy because this guy is a thief. And with a thief, you can picklock doors. That means you can spare some keys for later sections of the game. Now, I don't know if there are enough keys because I've always picked doors. That's what I like to do. But assumedly, you can avoid the key. Some keys disappear, especially in the second level. The iron keys disappear if you pick the lock. So you always end up with the same amount of keys. But if you want, there is a thief right at the beginning of the game. All you have to do is endure the first 5 levels. You can even drop down the pits so you can quickly reach the dwarven outpost to resurrect the halfling bones. The second character you want for this party is obviously Ilaria, which is another cleric. She has low wisdom, but we don't give a shit. You get her during the draw levels. And that is your party for Eye of the Beholder 1. You don't have, unless you're role playing for some reason, you don't have to get anyone else. They're just gonna suck your experience. But you do you. Just know that a good configuration is this guy's plus a thief plus another cleric, because the more clerics you can throw at the problem, the better. You have already 2 mages, you will have a lot of scrolls, so it's not going to be an issue, and you can cast double the spells. You can cast double the fireballs, you can cast double the hastes, you can cast double the improve identify, and many other things. So this is how you go about, and when you're done and you level up to level 9, because the fighters have a lower level requirement, you're gonna reach the cap faster than paladins and rangers. And that is extremely important because one more level is better than what? A cure light wounds and a bless from a paladin. Because one more level is more HPs and more taco. So keep that in mind, and also better saves. Keep that in mind. So this is how to make a good party now to Beholder. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.